something going on.
All right, good evening. The Design Review Board 1 public meeting of August 10, 2012 is called to order. Please refrain from talking amongst yourselves during the meeting, and please turn off or put on vibrate all cell phones and pagers. If you need to talk, please leave the meeting room. Anyone who wishes to speak, including applicants, is asked to completely fill out one of the speaker's cards provided at the table by the front door and submit it to staff. You will be called to present a case or speak on a specific item as desired. Anyone who wishes to be re-noticed about a project must completely fill out one of the postcards provided at the table by the front door and submit it to staff to receive notice of subsequent meetings. Current DRB agendas are available by visiting our website at www.ci.glendale.ca.us. A handout describing the procedures of the meeting, possible board decisions, and DRB reconsideration and appeals is available at the table by the front door. Please note that appeals must be filed within 15 calendar days of the DRB decision date. The chairperson may reorder agenda items at his or her discretion. Roll call. Mr. Ellis.
Present.
Mr. Insua.
Here.
Ms. Palmer. And Mr. Simonian is absent. Report regarding the posting of the agenda. The agenda for this meeting was posted on the bulletin board outside City Hall at or before 5 p.m. on October 4, 2012. Oral communications. Is there anyone in the audience that wishes to speak on an item not a part of this agenda? No. No cards.
Sure.
Okay. Great. We will roll down to the review calendar. I don't have any announcements. Do you, Jay?
I do not.
Okay. And then we will start with our first and only Design Review Board case at 140 North Glendale Avenue.
Thank you. Mr. Hamilton.
Mr. Chair, members of the board, this is a proposed remodel of an existing commercial building, and no changes to the floor plan are proposed. The building was built in 1943, constructed of concrete block. It's 1 story tall and has about 3,376 square feet of floor area. There are 6 parking spaces at the rear of the property and 5 alongside the driveway. Access is from Glendale Avenue and from the public alley behind the property. There are no protected trees on the property. As part of the facade remodel, metal panels in a variety of styles will be added over the existing brick facade on the side of the building facing Glendale Avenue. The windows have been altered already to complement the style of the rest of the facade, and photographs documenting the original windows and the new windows are before you. A small canopy will be added above the doorway. The surface of the wall along the south side of the building alongside the driveway will be given a smooth cement plaster surface. There are no changes to the site plan except for the minor changes to the planter out by the sidewalk. The facade remodel is in general considered by staff to be an update and an overall improvement of the building. There's some interesting ideas have added, but there are no real changes to mass and scale. The proposal is a contemporary update to a simple existing building. The southwest corner of the building is highlighted with metal panels and the west facade of the building. There's a break of the treatment at the entry, which is highlighted with different colored metal panels, and a canopy above the door with recessed lighting. At the top of the remainder of the facade is some horizontal siding. This is highlighted with a curved soffit. The curved soffit is echoed at the ground plane with a planter of the same shape. The new design provides an update and an improvement to the existing brick facade. The use of high-quality modern materials creates visual interest for this modest-sized storefront. Signage is indicated to be a single sign above the windows on the horizontal metal siding, and it appears to complement the proposed design. Staff recommends approval of the project with 2 conditions. First, that the details shown on the approved set should be followed as the design develops. Modifications should maintain the spirit of the design. Second, that drought-tolerant planting should be used for the planter at the storefront. That concludes my staff report. Do you have any questions?
I have one question. We look at two elevations.
Sheet
I only have one in my set up.
Drawings of two different elevations, or two?
Oh, I see what you mean. The one on the left, this is somewhat more of a rendering of an elevation. So this is the true elevation, this is the rendering. This is intended to show you what this is actually going to look like from somewhat of an angle. It just doesn't represent the signage.
But some of the dimensions have changed.
But it's completely different in the way it looks.
It's not to say the windows are smaller, it's
Okay, if you say so.
You got a big pilaster here that has this alucobond.
Well, isn't that
No.
this pilaster?
No, well,
what's changed.
I think because they're trying to show the shift in perspective, the taller element looks like it's shorter from when you move to the left.
And there's a relief in these elements that's not shown in the elevation.
that's a,
See this
Which you can sort of see the relief and the variation on the.
You look at this,
Yes.
it's different size than this.
Okay.
And different material. So I'm not sure. We can ask them.
The applicant would be best able to answer those details.
Anybody else?
Well, I missed the beginning part of the presentation, and we're honored with Mr. Platt's presence, and I was wondering, are there any historical significance to the building? Is there anything we should be mindful of?
This is as much of a plain Jane building as we have in Glendale.
Okay.
I'm here as the interim urban designer since Stephanie's no longer with the city. So.
Very good.
Big face. You know what, and please make a note that my colleague has made it.
Yes.
Started a little ahead of you.
We're usually used to seeing Ms. Reich over there.
Right. We've already had that conversation, too.
And I actually was remiss in not introducing Jay to you
Thank you.
under staff announcement, so I apologize for that.
All right. Any other questions, I guess?
Well, no, go ahead with your question.
I think I'm okay. I have a couple questions after the...
And so from what I understand, the windows were replaced without any permits?
we haven't heard anything about those yet.
Not, okay.
So that's why that was going to bring that up with the...
And-
No, in fact, the windows were replaced without permits.
They were, okay.
And is there anything else that's being altered on the interior or any kind of structural alterations that are?
You read your thing, it's just the exterior.
No floor plan changes have been proposed.
Okay. Great. All right. I don't have a card. If you have a card, sir, you want to turn that in to us, and we'll, Roger will be happy to take it. And please state your name if you step right up. Mr. Adamian.
Good evening,
Good evening.
ladies and gentlemen, members of the board. My name is Gary Adamian. I'm a structural engineer, and on this project, I will be presenting. I will be representing my client, Mr. Bagdasaryan, and we're proposing a project with facade renovation. It's located right across the street from City of Glendale Municipal Building, and it has, like it was stated, it's not very pleasant at this moment. It's a very plain rectangular building with no adornments. It's made of rustic brick walls, and it's painted white. So now we're proposing renovation that will introduce some three-dimensional effects to the facade. The facade that we're proposing is going to be from aluga one of the newer materials that is very popular right now, and especially in Glendale on Brown Boulevard. There are many examples of changing the facade using that particular structural material, and it looks gorgeous. The colors are bright. You can have all shades, all different colors, all different textures, and it's very easy to bend and to get different forms from that material. And we tried to take advantage of that. While we were working on this design, the designer who was working with me, David Vardanyan, proposed something very, very interesting, a little bit maybe too bright for that location. And it had some bright colors, more curved shapes, and eventually, gradually, we made it to look a little bit less, little bit modest, more modest, and but we tried to keep the idea of making a three-dimensional look and the idea of making it look modern, contemporary. That includes large, transparent windows. We're gonna introduce frameless or gridless window glass to our windows. That will make it look more larger, and plus it will match very well with the aluminum material that I mentioned. The canopy that when the staff introduced the project, there was a mention of about the canopy. The canopy is not new. The canopy is there. You can check the existing facade pictures. I have one right here. That said that we're going to cover it with the same aluminum material to make it look like a part of the design. And you can call it a brand new canopy, but it's right there. And the curved soffit, of course, is the main element of the facade. That will make it look kind of pop out. In my opinion, that building had a disadvantage because the building to the left and the building to the right are on the property line, and this one is about 5 to 6. I think it's set back 6 feet back to the property, and only 2 foot of the, that canopy was projecting from that point. Now, with this new three-dimensional addition to the facade, it will probably, be more visible and more attractive. And it's right across from that municipal building, and I'm hoping that it will be a great addition to. It will complement the great, interesting architecture of the City of Glendale building. That concludes my. Okay, I am ready to answer the questions. I noticed you had questions.
Any questions? Or,
I can't find it where I thought it said that the store.
Bronze? Storefronts windows are bronze? I'm not sure about that. Can I try? Can I take a look?
thought I saw that someplace that's in bronze in there too.
On page
Let's, Judy,
3.
turn your microphone on, please.
On page 3 near the top, entries and windows are aluminum storefront with a bronze finish is what we've noted in the staff report.
In the staff report.
Ms. Palmer, did you turn your mic on?
She did.
Yes, I
Thank you. And could you point it down toward? Thank you.
Can you talk into it?
Sorry. So the colored rendering is not accurate as far as it shows aluminum colored windows.
The intention was to have aluminum color windows, and I'm still trying to aluminum color frames, but the windows were going to be transparent glass, right? The frame. Let me find where it says.
You might want to match the window colors
That's
that
kinda
you've
what
already put in.
Go in that direction?
You want the black ones?
No.
So you're going to replace those?
Which ones? The ones on the side?
Yes.
If you find that this is not acceptable, then definitely we will change it, but it was not intended to be.
So what you're proposing are different color window storefront system in the front than the side?
The front of the storefront windows will have aluminum color frames. So, and I'm not aware of that.
Okay.
And this,
When I was working on the design, the windows were not part of my work, so
Right.
I did not participate in that.
the other question I have is, you call out the the maple color is the aluminum?
That's also aluminum. That's the same material, the aluka bond, but it looks exactly like the
You
maple.
call it out as wood on the
Did I?
sheet, on the,
Where is it?
color or the, I think it calls out wood over there.
It says architectural stock timber series maple,
That's the name of that
but
aluka
it's under
bond
the
with the
Alcoa.
color.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's
it's under
fine.
the aluminum.
I just needed
Yeah,
clarification.
that was a question I had too, was that metal or wood?
And
And-
the Reina bond is also mentioned, 12-inch wide siding by Reina bond, stainless semi-gloss maple. Is that the one, right? If you look at the facade, the call-out reads 12-inch wide single siding by Reina bond.
Okay.
Yeah, stainless. And it's a stained semi-gloss maple.
And I have one technical question. It shows the pop out at the top, and everything's sloping back to the building. How does that drain?
Drain.
How does it drain if everything slopes back to the building?
Let me see.
Parapet at the, see this?
The building is the existing roof
Yes.
at that location already has a parapet, and the
Right.
drainage is already organized. We're not changing the drainage system. The drainage is the system that collects the flat roof with parapet, collects it to internal drainage system, drainage pipes.
Okay. Thank you.
Some questions.
Ms. Palmer, you done? Sir?
On sheet A2, the elevation sheet, on the lower left corner, that depicts the old window styles, the metal windows.
Yes.
Okay. And in your perspective, on sheet A3, we're seeing 3 windows.
Yes.
Is that because the perspective is cut and doesn't go till the end of the building?
Yes.
I see. And it looks like in this perspective that you're proposing a new facade material to go over the brick.
Yes.
Is that the case? Is that what you have in mind?
Yes, Mr. Simonian. And on A2, on that facade, there is a call-out, there is a note that says that the facade, that surface is going to be
I see that.
finished.
And then, but on the material board, we don't have a color sample of that smooth finish plaster. Do you know what color that's going to be?
Cement,
Like a grayish color?
like a grayish color.
And, okay. The other question I had, in your front elevation on sheet A2, there is an ornamental metal gate that's been designed.
Yes,
This ornamental gate,
yes.
is this being proposed?
The design, yes, but there is another gate there right now with just straight bars. And
So you plan on doing a
little
new
bit of an
gate there?
embellishment to that.
Because it'd be nice to get details of that, because it's quite nice the way you've designed it, so it would be nice to get drawings to go along
Oh, sure.
with that, so
I guess.
so we don't end up with something different.
I have added a note about that. That the design, while changing the gate, it should resemble the proposed design on this page. It says replace existing rough iron gate with new custom-made gate, new gate to have the same height and width, new black paint, and new ornament to match the drawing.
And as far as your lighting and signage is concerned, is there a signage program or is there a lighting program we should look at this point?
At this point, I only have a note that there will be recessed light at the canopy, and there will be also a system of recessed light under the soffit. But the particulars are not worked out yet, so we will continue working. Probably we will include a specialist
And
team.
what about the signage?
The signage should be very close to what we see here, just simple letters, one sign, since there will be a single tenant there. And the wording may be different. I was not 100% sure on the name of the company or the name of the business that is going to be there, but it's going to be very, very close to what we see here. Just.
And this material in here,
Yes.
what does this material consist of?
So that is also a smooth plaster,
Okay.
and with a white pigment, so that it will look white and not kind of like cement, like I mentioned. Not like concrete, but a little bit on the white side.
And as far as the windows that were replaced along the side of the building, they're block frame, and they've been obviously installed with some foam insulation around there.
Yes.
What is being proposed as far as a window trim to cover that insulation and to make it airtight?
What's going to happen when we do the resurfacing of that side wall? It's going to be a minimum of 1 1/4 inch, so it will be a little bit. The windows will remain recessed.
But you still need some way of terminating the plaster, some metal edge.
My intention is to keep the sharp corners to match with the facade that we have proposed.
Okay.
And one comment, please. That the windows are, since the building itself is set back about 6 foot, and the windows are starting another 4 feet from the front wall, it's not that visible. They're absolutely not visible from the Glendale Avenue side. But of course, if you are on the driveway or on that parking area, you can see those, but they will not conflict with the facade. You probably will not be able to see both sides at the same time, the front facade and the side of the building.
And are they sliders? They're all sliding windows?
Yes. So the top part, I guess, I'm honestly do not know the particulars of that window, but on the picture it shows that the top part can be
Fixed?
No, I think
it's either fixed or
An
can be
awning?
opened.
yeah, awning. I think it's, yeah.
Awning.
Oh, we have
Or
a top.
fixed piece or a fixed light. Yeah. Right.
Okay.
All right, you done, sir?
I am done with my questions, yes.
Mr. Platt, you wanted to make a comment?
Since I've seen the windows up close, I just had I was hoping to get a little more clarification based on Commissioner Simonian's question. Where you say you're putting in the 3 new windows that look like the rendering, there are actually new windows in the existing openings at the Glendale Avenue side of that facade. Are you planning to remove those new windows and install the 3 larger windows that you show in the rendering, or are you keeping the existing windows? That's one clarification.
At the front facade,
No, on the side, on the driveway side.
on the driveway side.
You indicated that you were going to match what appears to be the condition shown on sheet, the detail, or the sheet with the sections. I don't have it. Okay. Where you show 3 fixed larger windows.
The size is not going to be modified. It's going to be the same size.
In this location, just around the corner on the driveway, where you show 3 larger fixed windows, the existing window openings in that location have already been infilled with new windows.
Yes.
Are you planning to remove the new windows and install windows that look like this rendering, or are you keeping the existing new windows?
We're planning to keep the existing size, but as far as the windows that were replaced, if the board recommends to replace them with a different kind, the 3 windows we will happily replace it with whatever was approved, but not the size. The size will remain the same.
And the
size
size in
will
the
not be what
rendering-
is on the rendering. The rendering is kind of is not representative of the site. It was not intended to show.
In fact, one of those openings in the rendering would be a new opening based on the existing pattern.
But please disregard the
Ignore the
rendering.
rendering.
It's not.
So you're going to keep what you have there,
We're
basically.
going to keep what we have there.
And the other clarification is the windows that have been installed were installed set forward from the plane of the window, anticipating this 1.25 inches of stucco.
Yes.
Therefore, I don't think we'll call these recessed windows. These will be flush-mounted windows if they
Flush-mounted.
proceed, yeah.
Very hard to detail that. All this crud.
Yeah. Mr. Insua, do you have questions?
I think we've asked terrific questions. I mean, overall, the design I like. I like that the, yes.
Just looking for questions. We'll get to the comments in a minute. I'm sorry.
No,
It's been a month and 2 months.
That's how we do it around here. No questions.
No question. You can defer for a minute.
No,
Okay.
I just I've captured it all.
I just want to ask you one question, and I confirm there. Apparently, when you look, there are multiple tenants in the building, but you're indicating that it's only going to be a single tenant building.
There is only going to be a single tenant, and there is one tenant as of this moment. It's
Oh,
just
there is?
one,
Okay.
one business, one.
Okay. Yeah, I was going to ask if there was signage for those additional tenants, but I noticed on the Google thing it came up with 3 or 4 other tenants in that building, so that's what I was asking, wondering about.
No,
Okay.
And what's going to be the use?
it's a medical imaging facility. It has different
X-rays,
MRI,
MRIs.
X-ray, etc.
Got it.
Okay. All right. Are there any other questions for?
Yes. While we're talking about the windows, is it necessary that these windows open on the side?
No.
But they do open as a slider right now?
Yes.
So like the active one is, let's say, the left or the right, so there is a slider action right now.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
No other questions? I'll close the public hearing. No other. Anybody else would like to speak? If not, okay. Who would like to start? Ms. Palmer? Here.
I'll go ahead and start.
So you get far away from me, I get called on it.
While we're on windows. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
I think, I like the design. It's a very small building, and I think just to do the facade, and as you walk down the street, you do see the side of the building. So I would like to see that those side windows that have been, the new side windows that have been installed reflect the front and more like the rendering that's there, and they might end up being inoperable, but that there be some recess to those windows, so it doesn't look like just a facade tacked on, and that the whole building on those 2 sides that you can see look like a full building. I agree with Mr. Simonian that gate needs to be detailed and tied in with the building. The signage, I like the signage as is, but we need a signage program to define something similar to that.
Actually, because it's a single-tenant building, they do not need to do a sign program.
Well, then I just want to make the comment that I think what's shown here is complementary to the building, and if that can be done, that would be acceptable. There was a comment in the landscaping. It's a small little area in the front. I wouldn't put in what you've proposed. It's going to be a maintenance issue. You can only have, it's a very small planter. I would use something more like would complement the color of the building, some drought-tolerant succulent like gray chalk fingers. You can look that up. But that would be something easy and would tie in with the building design. And let's see. I think that's my only comments at this point. Hear what the rest of the group has to say.
Mr. Simonian?
I concur in that the design is a good design. It really takes an older building and comes up with a contemporary look. And the reason why I was really asking a lot of questions is that it could be done really good, or it could be done in a manner that looks really bad. And what I mean by that is the details are what's going to count, because you have a very small amount of space, and so you want to make sure that everything looks crisp and your corners are are aligned and the lines are straight and so forth. And so the termination of materials, and where they terminate and where new materials start, is very important, the way things wrap around the corner and so forth. So that's one area of concern for me. And similarly on the side, where we have these kind of block frame windows that have been tagged in there, and we're doing a plaster finish to it, it would really be nice to have some sort of a crisp, maybe a sheet metal or metal break into the plaster around it. So you could have some sort of an L-shaped sheet metal, brake metal, that could be that same color, say, wrap around the facade, almost like an L. And then the plaster comes and finishes right on that brake metal, and so you have this crisp, recessed window look. I think it's too small of a facade to have aluminum colored storefront in the front and then aluminum bronze on the side. It's almost like you want to pick one and go with it. Since the aluminum bronze is there on the side, it would make sense to perhaps incorporate aluminum bronze in the front as well, to have that kind of uniformity.
Just to clarify, the finish on the side is a black finish. It's not that
It's a
bronze
dark
finish.
aluminum bronze, yeah. It's not
It's actually it's a black.
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 Yeah.
Flat black. Yeah. Well, some aluminum window companies call it aluminum bronze. It's just the anodized dark bronze is what it is. Like International Windows, their black one is that. But either here nor there, it'd be nice if they're matched, where they're of similar color. As far as the gate's concerned, as Ms. Palmer pointed out, we would need just some simple shop drawings or something that would give us some dimension and look. But what you've designed is, I think, works quite nicely with the building. As far as the two colored elevations that are depicted, the darker color walnut finish, I think, is probably more harmonious with your design as opposed to the maple. I would maybe steer in this direction, especially if you have the gray wrapping around the side, and then you have this kind of a crisp white cement plaster that you're talking about. I think the maple would just be too much of a contrast between the white cement and the maple. They don't really work with one another well, whereas in the darker browns would work quite nicely. As far as the design is concerned, I support it. I would like us to discuss how we're going to get some additional information from the applicant to just make sure that some of these loose ends are tidied up. Those are my comments for now.
You know, may I interject before you go here? I just said, Mr. Hamilton,
Yes.
we've talked about the south side and the facade, but we haven't mentioned anything about the north side. And I realized from looking at your aerial, half of the north side is publicly visible from Wilson. Is there anything, do we know anything that's happening on that side of the building?
Nothing's been proposed. It is marginally visible down through that gate that is being proposed and the gate that exists. So there is a little bit of visibility on that north side of the building, but nothing has been proposed.
Could it be a
I
good time?
respect the back is the same way.
Could it be a good time to ask the applicant if they're planning on doing that steel trowel plaster?
All the way around?
Wrap it around.
Three sides?
Right.
All right, let me, I'm going to reopen the hearing, sir. Would you want to step back up and, if you can answer that question, with the north side and the east side, is there anything?
I just confirmed with the owner that, yes, the north side, although it's not, that the part that appears visible from Wilson Avenue, there is a high fence wall that belongs to the next property.
Oh, there's.
But whatever part is visible, we will cover with the same smooth finish that
Okay.
is going to be on the south side.
Okay.
Good question.
Thank you. I'll close it again. Mr. Insua.
Excellent question, that's right. I couldn't agree more than with Mr. Simonian's comment that in the execution is going to be key. Often these contemporary or any remodel, if you don't look at the details and how all those things come together, it could have a really terrific picture, but then you scratch your head later on and go, ooh, they didn't execute those different materials well. So that'll be a key, and that'll be the detailing and in the contractor. Everything else, I concur with my colleagues. Then I'll bring up this one little thing, too, which we keep looking at the existing windows, or the windows that are there now. If you look at the old photograph here, the steel windows have a concrete sill. Okay? And they were deep set, or plat indicated. If you look at the ones that we currently have, we've got these black windows that are flush mounted, 3/4 or 7/8 inch smooth plaster is going to be applied to that, and we're going to lose that recessedness. Good or bad, matter of taste, but good or bad. What's it going to look like when we have this smooth plaster with these concrete sills at the bottom that clearly are representative of the past architecture, which may still be exposed, matched next to the front architecture, which is the contemporary approach to the architecture. So my question is that new plaster, probably about 7/8 inches thick, going to cover those sills, or will we see the sills? And then, so that's one question. Because when you look at sheet A3, that elevation, although not what they're intending to do, the sills have been removed, are not visible, and we're getting a smooth plaster across the front. So maybe that's, I just saw that, maybe we want to ask the applicant what their intent is for that concrete sill. That's a question.
You can do that. All right. Sir, I'll open the hearing one more time. Please state your name again.
Yaren Adamian, I'm the applicant. And to answer the question, yes, the windows were installed in such a manner that when we do the plaster, those seals will be covered. They will disappear. They will not be visible anymore. And in fact, and looks like it will take more than 1.25 inches that I mentioned.
You might
maybe
need to
about
fur
1.5
it out.
inches, maybe for more out,
Fur it out.
and that will create the desired transition from the plaster to the window.
It's almost like some hat channels need to go on there to...
You just read my mind, right there.
Yeah.
So they're going to have, exactly as Mr. Simone is saying, you're going to have another thickness. So you'll have the hat channels, the clear, and then 7/8 inches, or whatever minimum you need in front of the concrete sill, plus your 7/8 inches there, plus the hat channel. So yeah,
Right.
you've now added more stuff. Okay?
All right.
And then one thing to, of course, consider is just you're adding weight to a brick building, right? Those hat channels along with the plaster is heavy. So is it hanging off of the brick wall? Or is it sitting on a small footing? How does all that work? It needs, some of that thought process needs to go into it as well.
Absolutely. We will definitely come up with appropriate
A
design.
detail for it.
Well, no, they should
All right.
be smooth.
All right.
So
I'm going to close it.
Just a question?
Yes, sir.
So, going back to Mr. Platt's statement a while back ago, by the time you add that assembly, the hat channel, the 7/8 inch plaster, you now are going outward, so that then means that you'll start getting more recess with those windows from that assembly that we currently would not have as much. So we'll have even little deeper recesses with that.
The windows are projecting from the wall a fair amount. I don't know if it's visible in the photos.
Yeah, one of the photos, there's an enlarged photo that shows the tip kind of coming out.
When I looked at it, I assumed that the stucco was going to be applied to come to butt flush to the fins along the perimeter of the windows. So I don't know that we'll get much recess.
Well,
I'm putting a
the
note.
hat channel could get as thick as it needs to.
Not to tell you your business.
Yeah, but if the commission asks them to have recessed windows, they have the option of either relocating the existing windows deeper into the wall and having a thinner coat of stucco, or furring the wall out somehow and creating a recess.
Which on block windows might be the easier choice.
Or, not to tell you means and methods, but I would also, since you're going to, the finish intent is to hide those sills, you might want to take a stab, since you're hiding them anyway, and chiseling them back to the same plane of the bricks, which really would not be that hard to chisel those things back, chop them back, so that you can eliminate the hat channel assembly, so that you then go with what I think is Mr. Platt is saying, that original intent of having the windows be more or less the same plane as the plaster stucco that you're planning on. So maybe just chipping those things back to get in plane with that. So a lot of different ways.
I cannot agree more. Yeah, that's what I had in mind.
I actually have a,
Suggesting that they not be recessed?
that was my question.
No, what I'm saying is if they don't do a darn thing to the windows where they are now,
Right. It will not be recessed.
but we want to hide
Right.
a concrete sill, just chip them back and then put in the 7/8 inch
Right. Right.
plaster.
And the third option would be to chip the concrete sill, as Mr. Insua was indicating, avoid the hat channels, and then literally just move back the block frame windows that you have several more inches in, and then to get a really clean detail out of it.
This is rather attractive. to-
Yeah, which would be the most contemporary look. Okay.
All right. Great. Thank you. I'll close the hearing again. All right. You're done. My turn. All right. I agree with my colleagues. It's going to definitely be in the details. But I was happy with the design, actually. I mean, I think it will definitely improve the building. But there are some details here that you guys have brought up that, and I don't quite know how staff or how we might want to handle getting those answered.
I mean, literally, there are two options available to you. You can provide enough detail to staff in your conditions and comments for us to take it forward, and then you approve the project with those conditions and comments. If you think that the level of detail that needs to still be dealt with is beyond what you feel comfortable assigning to staff, even with conditions and considerations, then you do a return for redesign. It's your choice.
And if we get full clarification, recessed windows, flush windows, and some of the details, will we need to have a footing at the base of the new stucco or not, depending on the thickness? We're comfortable, enforcing your decisions through conditions on a small project like this.
Well, either way, we would need to pin down our conditions, so at least we have some sort of direction for the applicant.
We haven't read what we have so far.
And then we could maybe iron those out and then figure out
I'll
what
take a stab.
the best approach is, depending how complicated it gets.
I think staff anticipated your concern about the details on this project with the actual condition that was put into the staff report. Details shown in the approved set should be followed as the design develops. We'll obviously look for the design details of the specific features that we talk about in the other modifications. We also asked for drought-tolerant planting, and Commissioner Palmer has asked for specifically to look at the color of the plantings and had the specific recommendation, so we can add that to that condition. If indeed the new stucco is going to be thick enough to require a footing, we'll look for a section through the wall and details of how the footing and the new stucco will interface. We have a condition that the sills are not to be visible regardless of what direction this goes, whether we have recessed windows or flush-mounted windows. We have a condition to stucco the visible parts of the north and east facades. And the open question for me is still about the windows, whether we think flush-mounted contemporary windows are okay, or if you'd like the recess that's currently on the building. And then we can work on the different ways to achieve that.
If I may add a couple of more items that were discussed before we get
I'm sorry, details of the gate.
Right.
One
details
them
of the
I have.
gate, correct.
There was a dark maple
Correct.
finish.
That
And
we're
I'm not
given
that-
two choices. One is
Right.
the dark walnut look or the maple, and the walnut seems to be more in line.
Okay. So, and what, is that just a part of the facade of the building, or is it?
That little wood piece.
Okay.
Just on the west or the north side.
Okay.
So there's
So
one-
that, so
The dark color
that
and
needs to be the dark maple,
Dark.
Dark walnut finish.
dark maple,
Walnut.
I'm sorry.
Right. Maple's the light one.
Okay.
And then there were three other minor things. One was the signage as depicted
Oh, yes.
is in line with the architecture, and it would be encouraged to follow that design as has been presented to us.
That, and just to make you feel reassured, that's exactly the way I would operate on this. That, to me, does not represent a generic area for signage. That is the signage.
That's the sign, and it looks great. Yeah.
That may say something different, but it would need to look that style.
What
Size,
we need,
everything
Yeah.
is...
what we don't have confirmation is it lit or unlit. What's the exact
Right.
material? So we'll make sure we
He
have
didn't,
that.
there is noted a plexiglass material as a possibility.
Which indicates that it might be lit.
Yeah.
The other loose item was there's this little strip of plaster that the applicant suggested would be kind of a smooth plaster white in here, which is not indicated on the elevations at all. And the last item is we still need to discuss is, as depicted, the front elevation so an aluminum finished storefront system, whereas in the side windows are the black aluminum finish. And so
Pick one.
pick one, and I think the board was more suggesting going with the black, especially if we're keeping the black
I already
windows.
have. Yeah. Thank you.
So it sounds to me like there's, the only unresolved item is whether you prefer that the side windows be recessed or can be flush, and provide direction to applicant on that.
Do we know if there are any windows in the rear or on the left side?
Haven't seen.
Can you spin that around to the looking south, per chance? All right, so there's a
So
wall.
this is,
The shady
looks
stuff.
like a blank wall, but it's a little hard to tell.
Yeah.
Come to the east.
Spin it all the way over,
Yeah, the other side.
180, there you go.
What did you guys do before Google Maps? That
A
doesn't
lot
go-
more return for redesign, so that we could answer these questions.
Right.
Or a door?
It looks like this is some sort of mechanical box. This
Yeah.
looks sort of like a window. It doesn't look like it goes down to the ground.
You know, there's a street view all the way down, right, on the left side?
Down the alley here?
I was going to say, because the little picture to the left shows the, in the alley.
I don't think it'll go down
They
that.
won't go down the alley. Oh,
Yeah.
it was funny. It was in the alley in Burbank, but they don't do the alleys.
It's sometimes actual alleys you could go
Earlier, we were looking at an alley in Burbank. Yeah. All right.
So that's a question that we still have.
Do we want to maybe ask the applicant what they prefer, based on holistic, all the holistic comments that we've made, what direction they think is more suitable for them, or?
For the recess or for the colors?
Yeah, because I think that's the only thing that's left.
I would just comment that I would like to see a decent recess. I think this looks much better on a long building like that.
Yeah, it's kind of my...
I'm leaning towards pushing the existing windows in and eliminating the...
The concrete sill. Which is not a very difficult task with these block windows. 'Cause there's
I think it looks fine in the rendering, the partial rendering on the sides.
What will have to occur is once that gets pushed in, is they'll have to finish the brick sills, jamb, and the header with the material, and that's where that brake metal material could be very handy. So it'll come out and be a very nice finish.
At the sill or around the...
It's around the whole thing,
Mhm.
and I suspect that's why they've pushed them out, is on the inside, they've probably put drywall or whatnot. And on the outside, they've tried to cover, it's an older building, there's a lot of stuff there. So once you push it in, all that's going to get exposed. which is fine, because some brake metal could solve that.
And the brake metal, you'd want to have a black finish to match the window
It
frames?
would be nice to match it, and that'd be the way the plaster would terminate, and then would have a very clean recessed look. And as Mr. Insua suggested, chipping the sill makes all the sense in the world.
It does appear there are at least 4 window openings at the north facade that you can see here. And we don't know at this point if they took out the steel casements or if the new windows are in place there. So would the board accept the existing steel windows, or would you want to see those windows changed also to match?
You know, they're not in a position where you're going to see a juxtaposition of the old and the new. I'll defer to kind of you guys, but personally, I actually like the older windows. I understand why you replace them with modern, efficient windows, but that look is fine.
I'm okay either way. What we could prescribe is,
In the rear, of course.
what we could prescribe is if they do decide to change them, they should match the methodology of the driveway side. And
And if they don't change
There are
them-
ones in the rear, which he thinks there may be one, and we've got new ones down the side. I think that rear should also reflect, because you go and park in the back.
Right.
It makes sense. Basically, whatever we're describing for the driveway side would occur on all sides if windows are changed. And if they have been changed, they'll move them in and do the same thing. It's a way to cover ourselves and just go from there.
So say that again, please.
And in other words, we've described on the driveway side of moving the block windows in, chipping the concrete sills, applying a plaster finish to it with some sort of a edge trim brake metal around the existing openings. If other windows have been changed on the north side or on the east side, then they should follow the same methodology. If they are choosing to maintain the existing windows, then they're going to stay. But if they're ever going to change them, they should follow that methodology during the construction period. It's a way of, just a suggestion. I'm not sure if we want to go there or ask them to do it.
I mean, it's kind of interesting because they came in for a front facade change, and if they hadn't dealt with the windows on the sidewalk, we probably wouldn't be sitting here talking about it.
Correct.
All right, shooting yourself in
It
the
could be a
foot.
nice little building if
Yeah.
it was,
Right.
the whole thing was done.
But on the flip side, they are putting plaster on the whole side.
Yeah,
You know, so they are touching it.
right.
I do have a clarification question. You said on the north and east elevations, I believe you said smooth stucco on all visible areas. Are we clear on what's visible and what's not visible? Because I'm sort of envisioning, okay, if there's a wall there, the plaster's
Well, that's a good
from
point.
top down to the wall, and then it's whatever the building is now.
Right. Maybe the suggestion is just to take out the word out the visible side, that they would match
Yeah.
this,
think
all
that-
four sides.
The applicants are indicating they'll stucco from the ground up to the parapet.
okay.
So.
All right.
Okay.
So as described on the driveway side, it's going to occur on the east and north sides as well.
Right.
Okay. So now we want to see if it's return for a redesign or just working with
Improve the
staff.
conditions.
Any thoughts?
I think it all comes down to the details.
Yeah, and I think that we've discussed it and really hit it well. I'm comfortable with letting staff, of course, they're very good in what they're doing, they see it all the time, execute our feelings.
All right, I concur.
Okay. Somebody want to make a motion?
I move, go ahead.
And I'm wrestling with myself just to keep my mouth shut, and it's always difficult. When I look at, and again, it's such a small building and all this other stuff, but their intent is to be contemporary. And I really do apologize. When I think of the front elevation and the way that the gentleman described first, that the large windows were going to be an aluminum sort of color, that to me lends itself more to a contemporary sort of look where the glass itself is blending into the aluminum and you get a much cleaner front. I real quickly just took my black pen and just put in the mullions in the top with a black, and it's not going to, it's just, And it really hits it really hits that window hard with respect to defining the framework, which for me loses a little bit of that contemporary sort of glazing when we introduce a hard color, and we're doing it because we want to match the black frames that were put on the side. I think that if we did not have the issue of the black frames on the side, given a choice whether we want the aluminum sort of front window matching the sheenness of the glass, we would, I think we would gravitate towards those kind of windows. We're now introducing black because we got black on the side, and I don't want to spend anybody's money or removing windows or whatever, but the prominent view of the building is the front, and that's really where they put their effort with that contemporary look. Do we want to force the black frames because of the side, or do we want to do what would have probably been more natural, which is the brush aluminum? And I say that with caution for me because, gosh, I don't want to enforce somebody to change out windows and all. I feel bad for that, but
How bad would it be if you left the windows without the black frames on the front facade, recessed these windows and plastered over, and it would have a similar look, but it would just be a darker window?
Yeah, that would solve part of that problem.
That way you have the look we have one in front,
Right.
and this is a secondary similar look, but you're looking at black windows. You're never going to look at these directly on from the street. That work for you?
and I think that goes back to what we all are saying, and even the engineering stuff is it's going to be in the details, and touching one to fix over here may not be the best when you look at the whole thing. So, and if we spend a couple more moments thinking about it now, it may have effects for many, many years when you see that building. So I just brought it up, and I feel, anyway.
I'm agreed with you that we shouldn't touch the front as far as the black.
So we'll have aluminum storefront, clear finish at the front facade, and the black on the
Just a
side
thought.
facade.
The other idea is, if we do go with the black storefront in the front, is eliminating the two verticals in the middle, where it ends up being just basically one big picture frame. It would reduce the clutter.
Yeah.
Somewhat. And then we could prescribe a clear glass door without the metal frame around it.
They appear to indicate,
Yeah,
say, Mr.
clear glass
Simonian,
door.
that the door is a frameless kind of door. It's what it appears that they're saying, even more lending to less mullions and cleaner glass. I've seen glass, maybe one big piece of glass may be problematic.
Because it's about 16 feet.
Big piece of
I was
glass may be
thinking about that.
problematic.
Could be financially problematic.
Yeah. So maybe, again, when we start designing little by little, then
We've already designed the whole thing.
Yeah,
You got a
they've
lot
designed
of
it.
design
thinking, okay, if we did
incentives
the-
here.
we did the black frame, and again, forgive me, and then in between the joining pieces, they don't actually put a frame, they put they have that...
Bead of silicone.
Yeah, beads and all, but then you change the whole system to from a storefront to a curtain wall glass, so, it has those...
Then why don't we
things.
try to go with aluminum finish in the front, and at least do what's the cleaner look, and we all agree on that. And there'll be some, obviously, change of window material as you turn around the corner, but so be it.
What I'm saying.
All right. So we could strike that one comment where we're saying the dark black storefront finish and go with aluminum matte finish.
I've got the combination of aluminum storefront windows, but allow the black windows to remain on the side as long as they're recessed.
Okay.
And then,
And the
but
sills.
not just recessed, but also with a appropriate metal
Yeah.
sort of
metal around it.
break
Right.
along the recessed sill and walls.
Okay.
I would agree with that.
I could make a motion?
You're good.
But you were going to make a motion?
No,
or-
I was not going to make a motion, I was just wrestling with that.
The thought. I'm glad you did, because we ended up getting that thought out. I move to approve the project with the conditions.
I'll second that.
Board Member Simonian.
Yes.
Board Member Palmer.
Yes.
Board Member Insua.
Yes.
Chair Ellis.
Aye. Okay.
Excellent.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Next, approval of minutes. Oh, yeah.
Would move to approve the minutes of August.
All four of us were here. Oh, no, that's the wrong one. Were we all here? No, yes, we were all here. It is the right one.
August 9th.
Second.
All right. All in favor?
Yes.
I'm sorry, Ms. Palmer,
Yes.
Mr. Insua,
Yes.
Mr. Simonian,
Yes.
and Mr. Ellis.
Aye.
Thanks. That's all for the agenda tonight, although I do apologize, I did not introduce Jay Platt earlier in the evening. I've worked with him for a number of years, so I don't need an introduction to him, but you all haven't, so.
Well, we all do know him.
Ladies and gentlemen, Jay
I
Platt.
figured you would, but
Thank you. Thank you.
Well,
So
we look
he-
forward to working with you.
Right on.
Welcome. All right. All right. Entertain a motion to adjourn?
I moved.
Adjourn.
Thank you. All right.